have a guest. We have my cat, Audrey, my elderly cat. She's going to be sitting here. Don't be alarmed. She might move. It is what it is.
So here's the thing that I'm personally struggling with, and I know Jen is also struggling with.
Yeah.
This entire season, we've been presented, obviously, the edited version of what's going on. Also, from just reading on Reddit and Twitter, this is our first Survivor season, so like we don't really have anything to compare it to. We don't know how it goes.
Like we were just virgins.
Yeah. So with a few points just to bring up. People are saying the amount of advantages and just kind of time devoted to the advantages killed the season, which I can kind of see. Like, it takes time away from confessionals. It takes time away from like the strategy, which is the point of Survivor, point of Big Brother.
Really?
Yeah, the social aspect. So when you take that away and you're constantly just putting like, oh my God, this advantage. Oh my God, this advantage. Oh my God, look, they're walking up a hill to like go do this. It's like cool the first time, but then it's like it's overkill, and like you're not paying any attention to the players. Like I don't care about these players going on this like trip if I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
Or if I'm not seeing their strategy. I'm like struggling with that, struggling with the fact that Erica, who is the winner, first impressions, when I've heard that Erica was the winner, I wasn't necessarily disappointed. It was more just confusion as to like how it's more about Xander not getting any votes than it is about Erica getting votes, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Over here, I'm on the same page.
And this isn't to say like right now I can't make a decision whether or not Xander deserved to win over Erica because I don't know everything. And that's what's irritating me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Like, I know only what was presented on the show. What was presented on the show was Erica not being shown for most of it, Heather not being shown for most of it, Deshaun only being shown to like
be drama,
being like his emotional like kind of arc. And then Xander really didn't show up on the show other than to just give like some random insight on stuff. And like, I have this idol, by the way. Again, week whatever, I still have this idol. It's like really taking a step back. I'm kind of annoyed that I was kind of blinded by like the first Survivor season where I wasn't really taking a step back and being like, I don't know if I'm like actually getting their gameplay, if I'm actually getting like what's going on here. And like a lot of our reads on Shan early on were probably just like us not getting the edit, you know?
Yeah.
Of like,
I don't know. I feel like as a first time viewer, as like a virgin of the show, but someone that's watched these types of shows, has an idea of what they edit, how they do stuff, the blueprint for the most part. The ending was not satisfactory for me. It was like 2 + 2 does not equal 12. I'm confused. I never hated Erica. I did not see Xander getting no votes was just like, I was completely blown away. You could have asked me any other time. I would have never in a million years would I have guessed that. I thought he was going to win by a landslide, like damn near unanimous. I felt like they were talking up Erica as like his threat to make it seem like there was like a drama for the win, but like Xander's going to win. You know what I mean? Like I guess I'm just like, that's the part of being naive and not understanding, like, because our consensus of like looking stuff up is that like most people didn't think he should win.
Yeah. And
I'll enjoying the season.
and weren't
So,
enjoying the season. So like we're clearly in the wrong, but like it's just like, again, those are people who have been with Survivor since the first season, have seen everything, they read up on everything. We have not. So
I'm a virgin.
Completely unaware. I didn't even know how the finale worked. I didn't even know it was the finale this week.
I've never seen a final 3.
I didn't know it was a final 3 either. I thought it was a final 2, but
so I'm just like, I don't know, and based on what I was shown and my naivete or whatever, however you say that, like they really like made me feel like, what the fuck just happened?
Duped, I feel like is the word, because
I'm an idiot. Because based on, after all that, reading what people said, I'm like, oh, people are not on the same page as me. Oh, I'm on like a different book. Oh shoot. Okay. Well then what am I missing? Like what?
Just for some context, I've spent the last like hour and a half going on the internet trying to just read on stuff that I think we may have just not been aware of, or things that we may have just not thought of.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'll talk about, and this is not to discredit Erica's win, because I don't want it to seem like we're discrediting Erica winning.
I mean, like a female, a person of color, a Canadian, like all that. That's amazing. That's awesome. I love that. I just didn't see it coming.
I kind of want to know, I want to hear from the jurors.
Yeah.
Like why they chose who they chose. Cause like, again, Erica's like pitch, I could fully get behind her pitch.
Yeah. But like that aside and looking at the full picture, I didn't get it. But
I'm gonna also say, I'm not the type of person ever, if you've seen any of our videos, to say like competition wins get you the win in the game. I don't think that way. It's just
I tend to.
But like competitions aren't gonna necessarily like,
they're not
okay, like they're not gonna like win you the game, but like they could help. Like
they could make
you need to have something else. Yeah.
Win if you don't have anything else, but you're just like a comp beast. That could, we'll go back to Big Brother. Like that can be the difference between Janelle being an icon or not. Like, can you imagine if she just didn't win comps?
Yeah.
She just would have been a pretty face for a minute and kicked off, like, and never remembered really, right? Like James, his social game. Okay, sometimes it saved him for the most part. If James wasn't not a like POV comp beast, that man would have been out long before that, because his social game tripped him up, right? So it's like
even within the season, Ricard, as much as Ricard had a good social game, had he not won those challenges,
they wanted him out multiple times where if he hadn't won that, it was done. And he changed the whole course because he won. So yeah, comps can make a big difference, but they are not everything.
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm trying to kind of grasp. I don't know, this is going to be like a weird like vibe to this video. It's more like we're just trying to talk about our feelings.
I feel like we're mourning a loss almost, and then like trying to like
understand why.
We're also trying to like appreciate a newborn baby at the same time. Like you just lost someone and then you had a baby. So it's like, I still love the show. I still love someone like Erica being a winner in this climate in life as well, like in the world. But I'm also like, just feel like I got slapped in the face with like it was like I was reading Harry Potter and the ending was some Lord of the Rings. I'm like, wait, what? It's good, but like that's not what I was assuming, watching, being prepped for. Like
this is what I will say. Just a few thoughts. It'll be pretty brief, just because I mean there's really not much to say about this finale that like
I mean,
hasn't been.
we
We'll
could,
go through everything, but
yeah.
like, I just want to say that I can understand the argument that Xander blew his shot of winning by taking Erica. However,
Yeah.
I also understand the argument of him taking Erica so she doesn't win that competition and have another thing on her resume.
And another thing that's like fresh, like minutes ago, when it's net, like I get both sides, but I did totally see Xander like thinking ahead and thinking, I think this girl has kind of told me she can make fire. Like, I'm assuming she can make fire. Like, the last thing I want is for me to be up against her when she's my biggest competition at this point, and she just blows the judges away with her saving her butt and just killing this fire comp. And that's the last thing in their head. And then without him even maybe necessarily knowing that she could pitch something so good, can you imagine her winning that and then pitching? I would have given it to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got that.
That's one thing. And then the other big determining factor, I think, for Xander losing is him not making a move final five in the Ricard situation, where I feel like had he kept Ricard, I feel like he doesn't win. However,
I got some
in getting rid of Ricard, the way it happened, where
it was weird.
It just, I think that kind of threw things off for
like
me personally.
Like, I feel like it made the people in jury that felt like he gave false promises.
That was like the nail in the coffin of like, this, you just had a whole segment with Ricard and
it's a version of not reading the room.
And not to mention, I know some people were saying like his only real connection in the game was Ricard. So the fact that he didn't seem to like, I don't know, it was just like weird of like.
The way he did it was weird, but I also felt like, okay, so Ricard was my winner pick. I do think that like he did the best this whole season. To me, he's like a legend from this season in my version of things. And, you know, me going off of just this season, I would say that's a person I would remember. That's a person I'd want to see come back on something, because they do stuff sometimes where they bring people back. Like they've done like villains versus what, like they've done stuff like that. I could see him coming back. Like he's good at this game. And so I could see that, you know, right? But so I don't know. It's like, I just feel like if he took Ricard, that, I mean, now that I've seen the ending, it's so hard to say, because I'm like, maybe he still wouldn't, like, I don't know. Things went so differently from what I thought that I don't know how to judge it. But a part of me just goes, if you kept Ricard, it would have looked good, but it also would have, like, you can't beat him. How, I don't understand how anyone could vote anybody else over Ricard, over like of what his resume of this season and just everything. Like, I just don't see it. So I feel like he couldn't take him as much as I wanted him to, because Ricard was like my person, you know, like I just knew that like for Xander's personal game, I felt like it would have been stupid to take him.
That on top of
apparently backfired. So I don't know.
Us thinking Xander having an idol is a good thing, I guess could be a bad thing if we look at it a different way, because obviously this is our first time watching the show.
Yeah.
My thought process was, he has an idol, no one's fleshing it out. Why is this happening over and over and over? And then it turns out like people are reading it as, well, no one thought he was a threat, so why get rid of him?
And no one thought he'd use it. So
which I don't understand, because he is a competitive, like if you're talking like mental, like maybe because he has been on the wrong side of votes. He wasn't necessarily like the arbiter of like any specific plan other than the Liana situation, which even then he didn't really have, he just had a hand in the whole idol flip.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily the whole like bait and switch.
Yeah.
However, I still don't get the whole argument of like Xander not being a threat. Like that's what's confusing me, is like it's almost like it's going too far in the other direction where it's like, no, Xander isn't a good player at all. Like he doesn't deserve to win. It's like, well, let's not forget Deshaun is included in this conversation as well.
What did Deshaun win?
What did Deshaun won? Nothing.
How many times?
And this is another thing.
How many times did Deshaun want to flip a vote that never flipped, even when he had a solid alliance? They did not go with him. So that's what I'm saying is like, how can you say Xander sucks and in the same breath think Deshaun deserved more votes? Like,
or that Deshaun didn't do pretty much the same thing Xander did, which was backstab a bunch of people and not read the room. Tribal councils, hello. That's literally like the worst part of Deshaun's game. But
he's still
another thing.
Love you. Mwah.
No, it's not that I like Deshaun. I feel like I would like to see him back again. It's just like his game was not strong.
It was a little sloppy. It was a little in the way it was like those moments when Shan would get a little emotional that we were like, she's sloppy.
Yeah.
Maybe one day if we look up stuff and we hear more things, we'll revisit and give you like a more final thoughts. But at this point, we're a little up in the air.
So we're gonna just kind of go through major kind of happenings in the finale and kind of like exciting moments,
Yeah.
The first one being like, that's at least important. I'm going to skip over the reward challenge because it's really not important to the finale.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll just say it. Erica won. She was smart enough to bring Heather because she felt some tension. Thought if she doesn't take Heather, she's dumb. So she did that. They had a nice meal. It was steak and veggies with wine. And so they
sounded nice.
Yeah, I'm sure that was good after what they've been through. And so they hung out, talked, got back on the same page of like a very solid alliance. Yes, we're good. Everything's good.
But that's another thing I didn't touch on yet.
Aligned.
The purple edit of Heather.
Oh
Heather not being included at all, because Heather not being included is part of the reason why I don't think Erica was shown correctly. Like,
because it was
if you
them together or in a little bit.
Yeah, if you Heather being a part of an alliance with Erica and that not being shown, that's like having like Dr. Will and like Mike, and then you don't show Mike at all really, but you're showing Dr. Will. It's like, okay, well, it's like a team thing. Like you can't just be showing one or the other, because now if Heather wins, like, and Erica was getting the purple edit, you'd be like, well, Erica did nothing. I saw nothing from her, when that's not really true.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just one thing that's also bothering me and people on the interwebs. So Erica kind of schmoozes over things with Heather. It's a very Dan Giesling moment from season 10 where he takes Michelle to the private island and is like, oh my God, I'm so good at this game. Like, you're going to vote for me, right? But thought he was having instead of it being like a jury, like management moment, it's more of a, like, we're going through the end of this game. We need to stick together. We can't let like some random comment from Deshaun ruin this. So, and she really never said anything derogatory or like bad. It was more of just like, she's going to be a big threat to me in the end. Which she was.
Reached with that, he tried to make it sound worse and like catch everyone off guard.
Which he always does. It's like, why are you waiting until tribal council to bring up all this mess? That means you knew earlier today and you didn't tell me. So that's messy, Deshaun.
Yeah, I think I said Ricard, but I meant to say Deshaun.
So that happens, and then Erica wins an advantage, which you can go ahead and explain that because I know you love this.
They said like it's going to be very minimal, but it'll help you. It's minimal. I was like, that's it. Well, that felt like a very good advantage. Basically, they had to get these rings off that to build like a ladder, and then they had to do that twice, then to get to a puzzle to finish a puzzle to win, right? Her advantage was the first 4 were already off and set up on the ladder, both ladders. So she only had to get off, it was 7 things that she had to get off. She only had to get off 3 each time. She gets to the puzzle first, and she still barely beat Ricard. Barely, maybe by like 30 seconds at the most. I'm giving this like, it was neck and neck. And she had a big advantage. To me, that was huge.
Yeah.
Big difference in her game.
And I will say, it's not, again, not to discredit Erica, because she earned the advantage. It's just stating, had that advantage not gone to Erica, Ricard would have won safety, and this whole season ending would have been different.
Totally different.
Which is another reason why I don't like these advantages being in the game, because
now, like,
at some point, I'm just like, the idol is enough for me. I don't need these, like, you get an extra vote here, you get to do this. Like, I don't need that. I need bare basic Survivor. You find an idol, you keep the idol until you use it. You keep then it goes back into play.
Have to do that read out loud stuff.
Yeah, that was another thing. What the heck was that whole?
And you watch the premiere, right? They talk about it. Like, it's going to be a very similar game. So I loved it until now, looking back. So now I don't know, will I love next
season? Also, people were really not happy with Jeff hosting this season. They were saying he was like not his usual, like, unobjective self. Like, he was kind of like shady to some people when he's not really supposed to be.
Still, okay, a little bit, but I was gonna say he's my favorite host. I was literally gonna say I like him more than TJ on the challenge. I like him more than Moonves, Canada's version of things. Their host. I like Amazing Race. I love that he said the things that I felt like, to me, were what I was thinking. Like, he didn't. You were
thinking.
Yeah, like, I felt like he didn't just say like, oh, that's nice, so anyways, and then like lightly touch on it. Like, he just sort of, I felt like he was our voice in real time there. That's how I felt at the time. I don't know. I like him.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I like Phil from Amazing Race too. He's cool.
Yeah, I like him too.
Get them confused sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so Erica ends up narrowly beating out Ricard, which basically seals Ricard's fate, because apparently Xander's not a threat. So Ricard's just completely opening up to Xander. You know, this is when he finally tells people, like, you know, I have a baby coming soon.
Like it's due this week, but you know how babies are.
So
I don't even know.
Xander ends up teasing like, oh, well, I could use like the idol on you. And I feel like this is another moment that
he shouldn't have said that. We knew that was an option, but you shouldn't have even spoke it, because then people expect it, and then it seems like you're lying, even if you didn't promise something.
And we have to remember, this isn't Big Brother where you get weeks. It being like a few days in between tribal councils adds to the freshness of some backstabbing and some betrayals. And like, Ricard probably had like a day or two after he got eliminated for the finale to happen.
Yeah, it was probably like a day.
So it's still pretty fresh and recent of like you not winning the $1 million. So yeah, I can understand, like, as close as they were,
him being a little bitter, maybe.
I would still be bitter. Especially if presented the case Erica did, where you're like, I mean, she's selling me herself. Xander really wasn't able to, as much as I think he did have a case for himself. I don't think he was necessarily giving the right points. Like, he should mention, like, I wasn't ever considered a threat. However, I happened to win these immunity challenges.
Anything like that. So,
but he didn't give that. So I think he may have came off a little bit more arrogant and naive.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, he's 20 and most of the jury is not. So I think they kind of saw Erica as a more composed and, like, I don't want to say adult, because like
He's an adult, but yeah, no, I think just sounded just more, it was just easy to just be like, yeah, that sounds
That's
really.
it. So after Ricard goes home, we have
No,
to mention Xander uses his idol on himself.
it was very awkward, but whatever.
Yeah,
I think it would have been better if he just didn't use it at all and let it disappear. Even though I got his reasoning behind just using it, I think it just made it seem
it would have been cooler had he had the argument of saying like, I had an idol, didn't have to use it at all because it was its own shield. Like he could have built such a good case for himself if he like,
he just didn't.
he's not a good talker, I don't think. And Erica's really good at.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, but I also like, it's just very hard for me because I still feel like that doesn't negate just
the things he did. Yeah, that's, you shouldn't have to like, this is what I don't like about these shows. You selling yourself shouldn't be the deciding factor. Like you should be able to like be like, look at what I did. Like you're not blind. You played the season with me. Like
cannot dispute facts. I can't even really sell you facts. I can just read it. Here's this.
And Ricard goes home and then goes to competition to see who's going to decide the final three. And Xander ends up winning, as I expected.
Yeah, he killed it.
And this is another thing that we already talked about, but he decides to save Erica because I guess this is like a common twist recently where
people go to exile, they learn how to make fire.
And you basically, the competition is make a fire as fast as you can to burn the string and snap it. So this is another thing that irritates me is Heather. It all comes down to luck, which like you could say, well, I mean, it comes down to luck, whatever. I'm like, okay, Heather had the biggest fire in the world compared to Deshawn. Faster than him too, but because something in the universe just didn't have the flame on the string for long enough time to snap it.
That was my favorite part though. Like, honestly, I thought it was so entertaining. It was so like, it was such an upset. He had everything working against him to not win. And I really, really didn't think he would.
Some people are saying it might have been rigged.
I was going to say it gave me so good.
It's rigged? Like, but I'm not saying anything. I'm saying allegedly. There's rumors going around that may have supposedly said it's
as a reality show, not a game show, right? So technically they could.
And it's not, again, not to discredit Deshawn's performance, because like if that was me and people were saying like I like cheated, I'd been like,
no, really? I got hell. Thank you. Thank you.
I think it was just kind of disappointing because Heather's been considered such a layup the whole game, and to see her like prove everyone wrong right at the end
and then still get like snubbed was a little.
But I could say the same for Deshawn. Deshawn also was second in most of those competitions, and like for him to be able to pull out a win was also cool.
Yeah. Yeah, good moment. Honestly, I think it was a good part, like my favorite part of the finale. For me,
it decides the final three. And so it's Xander, Erica, and Deshawn. We end up going to the questioning, which does not go well for a certain person.
At all.
And honestly, I mean, there's not much else to say. We've kind of covered it. So Erica gets, every vote except for Danny's.
No, I don't. Didn't Deshawn get 3 votes?
Deshawn got 1 vote.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was just the one.
And Xander got 0.
Yeah, that still sits weird with me, but it is what it is. We got a preview for season 42. They also did something, I guess, apparently they haven't done since 2000 when they like first started the show, where it was like, we're going to do the after show right now where everyone's fresh. We're not going to a different stage. We're not cutting anything. Like, we're pulling forward. We're sitting here and we're going to do it. And so they did that and it was cool. But I've never seen anything different, so I don't really know how to judge that. I thought it was very interesting. I enjoyed it. I liked the pretty free flow of the conversation. I actually honestly even enjoyed the jury's questioning better than I do on something like Big Brother, where it's very like, we only get 5 questions and it's very curated and calculated. And I preferred the more free speaking, and the fact that I felt like he was just allowing multiple people to have full conversations.
Yeah, that's where I like the older seasons of Big Brother, where like the jury segments weren't like you get one question. It was like you can ask follow-up questions, whereas like the live jury segments, it's like, what was your biggest game move? What was the biggest challenge you had to overcome? And it's like, instead of asking like, why did you do this to me, or why did this happen this week, how did you like, what was your thought process? Like, none of those questions ever get asked anymore.
It just always feels like those questions are pretty much pointless. And like when it's more like how it was old school or how it was on Survivor, it's just more gives it an actual reason. Like I feel like nowadays on Big Brother, they do it as like a formality, but it really has like no real meaning behind it besides maybe someone trying to sound a little shady.
And also apparently now some people don't even get to ask questions. Like that, wasn't it like someone, I forgot who it was on the jury, didn't even ask a question. I think it was Tiffany. She didn't even ask a question.
I don't even know. I don't know. It's weird.
So overall, I'll have to think about it a little bit longer, because originally when I first heard the results, I probably would have ranked this like 6 out of 10.
Like good until the end, you ruined it.
But the journey on top of the finale, on top of reading up on it and kind of thinking about it, I would rate it a solid like 7.5, I think.
If I didn't read up on it and I count out the finale, like everything up until then, I'm giving it at like a 9, 10. The finale pulls it down to like a 6, 7 for me. And then now overall, I would give it like an 8, 7, 8 of like me researching stuff. But I still like, I'm just in limbo right now. I don't know, guys.
I don't know how to feel.
I know that I really enjoyed the overall concept of the game and everything. So I'm a fan. I want to continue to watch Survivor. I want to go watch old seasons, but I'm definitely like at my end of my journey of my first Survivor season. 41, the 4, keep the 1.
Yeah, and I will say real quick, I do want to talk about the kind of the breakdown of the winners and also confessional statistics. This was done by Rob Has a Podcast.
Is it
where
it's interesting. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. He basically lays out, I'll put in the screenshot of it here and give you time to basically digest it, or you could pause it. It goes from season goes by season with the winners, the breakdown of their sex, race, and then how they were edited. So how he did this was taking, like, had everyone gotten equal amounts of confessionals? Were they over or under that number? Mm-hmm. So we can see the top, it's pretty much all males and all white, with one exception being Earl, who was POC, and then a few females being Kim and Sarah. A majority of the bottom is female, with some POC sporadically in there, getting gradually less and less confessional time and airtime, which in return makes viewers like us not fully appreciate their game.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting pie chart, flow chart. It's neither of those, but
statistic.
Yeah, and Erica is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She is 8th from the bottom in terms of that.
And she's our winner.
So it's kind of disappointing.
Well, it makes our feelings valid, right?
Instead of saying Erica didn't do anything, it's more
We didn't get to
we
see
didn't
it.
see.
So I
Like,
don't know.
why are people week 1, 2, 3, 4 like pre-merge calling Erica a huge threat when we don't even see
To us, I
why?
get it. Like, does
I'm
she
like, what
like
did
her?
she do?
Yeah.
So
That's
I
interesting.
think, and this is even considering how much airtime she got from going on the island.
Right? Like, that's crazy.
So it's kind of sad that
Say CBS continue to do better.
Mhm.
But yeah, we'll be back in the spring for season 42. Yeah, what do you guys think? We read all the comments, so
Let us know if
yeah.
you agree. Please let us know any thoughts you have on whether you think Xander deserved to win, whether you think Xander deserved no votes, whether
Yeah,
you think Deshaun should have won. I'm sure there's some people who think Deshaun deserved to win. Let us know your thoughts, your reasonings why. It'll be interesting to read up on. I
because
don't
we are.
know how I feel.
And in order to do that, you need to like, comment, share, subscribe.